Rome City Commission. We start off every meeting with an invocation and a pledge. And tonight, Commissioner Jamie Doss has the honors, and if you will, stand with us, and Commissioner Doss.
Thank you, Mayor. Will you pray with me? Dear Lord, thank you for this beautiful fall evening in our wonderful city. Thank you for the opportunity for us to live here. I make a special prayer for the commitment and courage of all of those who have served our country and for the sacrifices that have been made. We pray for the 1% of our USA population that are actively serving in our military. And Lord, just guide us, give us wisdom. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen.
Please address the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, if you will, call the roll.
Mayor McDaniel.
Here.
Commissioner Bojo.
Here.
Brock. Here. Cochran.
Here.
Beeman.
Here.
Doss.
Here.
Quick.
Here.
Collins.
Yeah, here.
Robinson.
Yes, here.
You've all received the minutes of our October 28th, 2024 meeting, and we will approve those by common consent. We have one proclamation tonight for the 75th anniversary of our garden clubs. I'm going to call on the Mayor Pro Tem Jim Bojo to read those. If you're going to be receiving the proclamation, if you would come forward, please.
Have a proclamation tonight from the City of Rome for the, I'll read it as it goes. Whereas the City of Rome, including the Board of Commissioners and the Mayor, proudly honor the Rome Federation Garden Clubs on the occasion of their 75th anniversary. And whereas the purpose of the Garden Club is to enhance the quality of life by preserving and beautifying our community. We celebrate and deeply appreciate their years of dedicated service and commitment to our city. The members of these garden clubs have shown exceptional ability to shape, influence, and advocate for civic involvement, environmental preservation through their passionate gardening efforts. And whereas we acknowledge with gratitude the hard work and dedication of the following garden clubs: Four Seasons, Lavender View, Mountain View, Rome African Violet Study, Thistle Garden, Three Rivers, Town View, and Seven Hills Garden Club, which is celebrating 100 years in Rome. The beauty of our town today is a testament to their organized effort and contributions over the past 75 years by this federation. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that Mayor Craig McDaniel, on behalf of the Rome City Commission, does hereby proclaim that the 75th anniversary of the Rome Federation Garden Club be celebrated and acknowledged. We encourage all citizens to engage with our community and explore opportunities to participate in local garden clubs. Given the Mayor's hand and seal, the 12th day of November, the year of our Lord, 2024. Congratulations. Would y'all like to say something?
Thank you. First of all, I just want to thank you. Let me put my glasses on first. Thank you, and we really appreciate the recognition, because we really think that what we do is important in our community, and we think that it's needed. And we have 3 goals in Garden Club, and this is nationally and statewide and citywide. Beautification. which we accomplish through our garden spots that we have all over Rome that are kept up by our different clubs. In addition, every 2 years, we sponsor a 2-year project, and a really fine example of that is the Clock Tower Garden that's visited a lot by people outside of Rome, and if you haven't been there, you need to go by and see it. It's a really beautiful garden. And then conservation, we practice that ourselves, and we encourage others to do the same. And education. Once every 2 years, we sponsor a community educational program where we host a speaker to come and we serve delicious refreshments, and it's all free. So we're really involved, and we might be old. 75 years old is a long time to be, and then Seven Hills is 100 years this year, and so we're just proud that we're still here and standing. Thank you.
Would y'all, ladies, tell us who you are?
Okay, sorry. I'm Anita Bridges, and I'm president of the Federation.
I'm Janetta Rush, and I'm a member of Three Rivers Garden Club.
I'm Brenda Harp, and I am president of Three Rivers Garden Club.
And I'm also a member of Three Rivers.
Thank you very much. Here's your proclamation.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We have one registered guest, Stephen McDowell. Stephen, if you will, go to the podium, give us your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Stephen McDowell. I'm with Old Havana Cigar Bar, 327 Broad Street, downtown Rome, Georgia, 30161. Commissioners, I wrote y'all a letter, and it's in your packet that you're going to see later once we get to discussing that second reading of that ordinance. But I thought it was important to read it out loud today so the public could hear it. To the Rome City Commission, dear Rome City Commissioners, thank you for taking the time to hear from me today. I'm writing to share my thoughts on the proposed liquor pouring variance ordinance that will impact my business if adopted. I'm opposed to the ordinance as written. While I understand your position in eliminating future liquor pouring variances, I feel the proposed ordinance devalues my business model and jeopardizes my future operations. As written, the proposed ordinance would impose the following penalties on my business in the future. If I become incapacitated at any time, my business model would have to change. If I cannot sell the business model as it currently exists, therefore my assets are devalued. My children, I have 5 of those, cannot inherit the business model as it currently exists today. And lastly, and probably not the last, but the one I would like to write, I cannot relocate my business within the city limits if the need were to arise. Now, I encourage you, after knowing these things, that you take another look at the language in Section 3 of the ordinance to allow for ownership changes or license holder changes by the current 3 variance license holders to be reviewed by the Alcohol Control Commission and the Rome City Commission. In my 21 years in business, I have faced many challenges to my business type and model, and I have battled to maintain a successful and community-contributing presence through it all. I hope you allow my business to prosper today and in the future. And of course, feel free to ask me any questions if you have them. But again, I feel it's very important as we look forward for not only the city, but also to the current businesses that exist in the city. We are very kind in promoting their prosperity within the letter of the law. A vote yes for the ordinance change would be a vote against business. A vote yes for the ordinance change would be a vote against me and my family and my employees, my partners. And a vote for the proposed ordinance would be a vote against downtown Rome, Georgia, as it's known today. Thank you very much for your time. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them.
Thank you, Stephen. We have no resolution. We have one item on first reading. Commissioner Quick.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that item is C24-11-08. It is a request to rezone from community commercial to high-density traditional residential for the property at Davis Street, Rome, Georgia 30165, Floyd County tax parcel J13028. It comes with unanimous recommendation for approval by the Planning Commission.
Thank you. We have one item on we have two items on second reading. I'm going to call on our city clerk, Joe Smith.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. You do have two items coming to you from the Alcohol Control Commission. Both are alcohol ordinance amendments. The first is related to the comments made by Mr. McDowell just a moment ago, and that is the effect of this ordinance would be to eliminate any future food-drink ratio variances. As it's presented from the ACC, it would allow the three existing variances to continue, but would not allow the transfer, the sale of those variances, and that would include a new owner or a new licensee. Okay, obviously we have some debate about this in caucus tonight. But that's your first ordinance. You placed it on first reading last week. It's up for second reading tonight. And, of course, you all have the option of voting it up, down, or tabling it, or sending it to the ACC for more discussion.
Well, you know, I think that gray area is the transfer, like Steve mentioned, that I don't think was discussed enough in the ACC. The elimination of the variances itself was discussed and recommended from the ACC to eliminate any future variances. And but if we want to send this back to the ACC to clarify the transfer portion of it, I would recommend that we would do that.
I second.
Okay, have a motion and a second, send it back to the ACC.
Can we discuss it a minute? Can we just not amend the vote to allow direct transfer?
Motion and a second, unless they remove it. No, we have to vote on this.
Yeah, there has been a motion and a second.
Somebody can
There's a
withdraw it.
motion and a second to send it back to the ACC. Is there any other discussion?
I have a question, Mr. Mayor, for Mr. McDowell. Is your license in, does a corporation hold the license, or do you personally?
No, sir, that's not allowed. It has to be an individual's name.
It's a shame.
And a resident too, which is, as far as I understand, is that correct?
Yes,
Go to the podium, if you will. Stephen, if you will, go to the podium.
Yes, Stephen, to answer that question, our code does require that all licensees live in the state of Georgia. Most live inside of Floyd County. If you live outside of Floyd County, then you have to name a local agent who does live in Floyd County. So the net effect is, yes, you have to be a resident of Floyd County.
Right.
Yep.
And yes, so I've held that license for 21 years, 14 or 15 with just a beer and wine license. So we were still selling alcohol in the establishment. And then once we got the variance passed, I started selling distilled spirits to go along with that. And again, any given month, you know, no more than 30 to 40% of our business model is alcohol at all. We're still a retail front, selling premium cigars. And that would never be our focus. I would shut the doors if we became a place that was known as a dram shop.
Sure.
That's not what we're set out to do.
And we appreciate you and what you do and what you've meant to downtown. You've been down there so long.
Thank you. Yes, great place to be. I want it to continue.
It is. Thank you.
And again, I'm all for the progress that we make by just slowly releasing some of these rules to allow business models to ebb and flow with the times, which we had some discussion about that too. You know, it is a new day. There are new attitudes out there, and we can do it in a very controlled, confined manner that is good for everyone. And you know, I put myself up there and said, listen, let me be the one that is judged on if this is going to work or not. And so we did that, and it does work. We just have to figure out a way to finesse that ordinance so that it is, like I said, long-standing. So we don't have to have these changes come about all the time.
So in theory, if your building were to, God forbid, burn down or flood, or any number of car were to drive through, not, you know, something like that happened, you would lose your license.
Yes.
If you had to move for
Theoretically,
yeah.
yes. Or if my landlord caught wind that if I had to move, I'd have to close my business so he could double my rent. Something as simple as that. I
think you brought up something too that we hadn't thought about. Had you moved a couple of miles further from where you moved, the license might have had to been changed.
Oh, yes, there's a
That
lot of
would've been-
implications to
So
this
we
language.
have a motion and a second, and these questions really don't pertain to the motion and second. Have a motion and second, send it back to the Alcohol Control Commission. Any other questions pertaining to that motion?
My only question is, can I amend it to allow that a direct transfer of these licenses if they want to pass it on to someone else? I think that's something this commission can decide. And I
Mr.
think it's,
Attorney.
That's got to come from ACC now.
I've discussed this with Andy, and it's the city attorney's position that it would be a substantive change that would need to go back to the ACC and then first reading.
okay.
We have a motion and a second to send this back to the Alcohol Control Commission. So in terms of modifying the ordinance at all by this body, we're not going to do that. We're going to send it back to the Alcohol Control Commission. Any other discussion pertaining to that motion to send it back to the Alcohol Control Commission?
Just to disclose, Mr. Mayor, that I will not be participating in this vote for the simple fact being one of the elements that being discussed here. I am the landlord, and I've been advised by the attorney not to participate, and I plan on doing just that.
Also, Mr. Mayor, for one clarity, I'm not a voting member of the ACC. I'm just a representative from the commission. So just for clarity, I'm not a voting part of that committee. So.
We have motion and second. Any other discussion pertaining to this particular motion? Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
Sir, Commissioner Bojo,
Yes.
Brock,
Yes.
Cochran,
Yes.
Beeman,
Yes.
Dawes,
Yes.
Quick,
Yes.
Collins,
Abstain?
Robinson.
Yes.
All right, motion carries.
And Stephen, just so you know, the ACC will meet 1 week from yesterday. So coming Monday, they'll meet in these chambers at 5 o'clock. You're welcome to be here.
I'd like to be here. I'd like to help with the discussion process, just from a business perspective on, so we get the language right.
Well, I'm sure they would welcome your insight.
Can I ask Steve a question? Stephen, how long were you open before you added liquor sales?
In Rome,
Yes.
14, 15 years before we got the variance passed and allowed for the alcohol liquor sales.
So your vision is a business should be established before you add some of these
I've said that
ideas?
from day one. Back when Wendy Davis and Monica were on the ACC, and I said it needs to be proven. We need to have a proven business model before we start handing out variances. Again, I don't want it to be a free-for-all, and it shouldn't be.
I like that. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you all.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, item B.
Yes, sir. The second ordinance amendment pertaining to alcohol is related to food trucks. Of course, food trucks are allowed where they can be placed on private property. Food trucks can't be on public property unless they've been invited. But for several years now, the City of Rome has allowed on-site food truck sales to be counted towards an establishment's food-drink ratio. They could supplement or even theoretically replace an on-site kitchen. We haven't had a lot of establishments take advantage of that option, but we have an ordinance before us tonight that came out of our Alcohol Study Committee. It later flowed through the ACC, and now it's made its way to you to continue to allow food trucks, but to no longer allow those sales to be counted towards a food-drink ratio. This ordinance was placed on first reading last week, and it is also on second reading tonight. And you all have the same options as previous, to adopt, to deny, to table, to send to another committee.
So we'll need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve it as recommended by the ACC.
A motion, need a second?
I've got a question. Can I ask a question before?
Get a second first.
We're talking about the elimination of food trucks. This young lady says that they're going to do their own. Is that included in this, or is that separate from this?
Let me second the motion.
I believe we need a second, Pro Tem Bojo.
Got to have a second before discussion.
Then I'll second it, and then that was my question.
There is no opposition to a food truck being there, as long as you own it, and as long as, and you spoke about that in caucus, as long as you are that's your business. In other words, it's not an outside business. I don't think the ACC has any issue with that. That would be yours.
Okay.
Have a
And through
motion
your
and second.
POS.
Any discussion?
That answered my question.
Yes, I think this is ridiculous. I'm going to throw that out
Commissioner
there.
Cochran?
Yes, this is ridiculous. I believe this is a ridiculous motion. I believe this is ridiculous coming from the ACC. I see no benefit to it whatsoever. We've never been scammed out of money from a food truck. We've never had ill reporting from a food truck. Food trucks are amazing and they're great. And the fact that somebody has to, consider building out a retail kitchen, which I can promise you is far more money than you think it is. By the time you add the additional square footage, the HVAC, the grease trap, everything associated with that, it's 3 steps backwards. This is a bad idea on a novelty that helps some people promote their business. And it sends the wrong message to people who would consider Rome being a progressive town. And that just, it's a shame that it even wound up here, in my opinion.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that. I think the purpose of that, where on Broad Street can you put a food truck?
Well, nowhere, because it's illegal.
Exactly. So do they have an advantage over someone else? Are we giving preferential treatment to someone else? They don't have a place for a food truck. I think the purpose of that is to have it as part of your business. And otherwise, you could use a food truck in Atlanta, pull their sales and say, well, here's what the food truck there sold. I'm gonna put it against my ratio. I don't think it defines it. It has to be on site, to my knowledge.
It does have to be on site, it cannot be.
It does? Okay. I mean, is the definition in there of that, it has to be on site?
Yes, sir.
Okay, stand corrected. So I think they're just trying to bring more conformity into that part. That's what I got from the meeting.
Well, I mean,
And I'm not a voting member, I'm just a,
Sure. No, and a kitchen is a kitchen, right? If it's in a food truck or it's in a building, the health department allows both. So in the eyes of the law, a kitchen is a kitchen. If the idea behind allowing food or even having the food drink ratio to start with is to ensure that people consume food while they're drinking alcohol to ensure that they don't get drunk as quick, then we are eliminating a possibility for that to happen. If somebody wants to use it as a business model, I encourage it. I think it's pretty darn clever. Why not allow it? What's wrong with it? Where does it go afoul of the law? We haven't had any issues with it. Nobody's run into any problems with it. Nobody's scammed anybody that I can think of. We get our tax dollars. We have a thriving business that's going to turn around and do the exact same thing that we're about to vote against. But the only difference is they actually own it. So if everybody's okay with that, then it sounds like the concern is truly the food trucks are cheating us out of money. But we can't prove that. Nobody's ever said that. So if the concern is food trucks cheating us out of our money, instead of destroying a business opportunity for somebody, why don't we just increase, our thoroughness in checking the records of the food trucks? I mean, if that's the main concern, otherwise, we can't argue that it's a concern about they have to have a kitchen on site, because a food truck kitchen sounds like everybody's good with it as long as the person owns it. So a kitchen is a kitchen. So if the only concern is who owns the food truck, thereby who owns the kitchen, thereby who collects the money at the point of sale, and how Joe reads that point of sale data, if that's the concern, let's figure out how to tackle that and not just kill all the food trucks.
I don't think we're trying to kill all the food trucks. I think what we're trying to do is respect the brick and mortar businesses that have spent a ton of money to operate. And we're trying to also help the foundry because it's a good business model, and she's looking for a food ratio solution. And so I think it's a compromise, but it will work.
He has a solution. We're forcing her to look for a different one.
Mr. Attorney, Mr. Mayor, can I ask the attorney a question?
Yes.
Would the subject being B, I can have some discussion on it because it has no relationship to my building, correct?
Correct, if it's, I'm not aware of it impacting your financial interests. That's your disclosure and recusal to make.
Thank you. I do have a couple of questions. I've heard the clerk tell the subject that's wanting to do what she want to do with her food truck that has everything to do with this here motion, because I think Commissioner Robinson just asked him, this does mean that she has to own it. And he said, I think, Dwayne, it has to be on location, at that location, but that's not what I hear the owner saying. She still would like to participate in some of the events that we put on ourselves at the city by coming off location. And we're talking out of both sides of our neck if we're doing that, because others going to pretty much want to do the same thing, and that's going off location. I think she need to be clear, and the city need to be clear, and this commission need to be clear. Can you stay on location? Do you have to stay on location? Can you come off location? I don't want to, as we be in the city, being in a position saying, well, it's okay, it's a city event. We can profit from that. That's not being consistent.
Well, I honestly think we're dealing with basically just the foundry. I don't think we're eliminating anybody's food truck. Anybody can have a food truck. I think we're only using her business as the one example that's affected by this, so.
Well, we're also
I think we're
eliminating an
making a mountain out of a
opportunity
molehill
for,
here, huh?
we're also eliminating an opportunity for others who might come down the road later and decide to try to do something similar. I mean, it's,
You can't say to her,
That's up to the ACC.
you can do it. I was just sending it all back. You can't say to her, she can do it if I can't do it or somebody else can't do it.
Well, to be clear, though, I think we discussed, you are putting in a kitchen. You're putting in a kitchen, and we're not prohibiting food trucks. I mean, we're still gonna have food trucks. She can have food trucks, she just can't count the sale of the food from the food trucks. If she's subcontracting, if somebody's bringing a food truck, she can't count the revenues toward her ratio.
I understand. Thank you for clarifying that. I understand. I still
Yeah,
don't.
I just,
No, I
you know,
appreciate
we're
it.
not precluding her. We're trying, I think the intent of the commission is always to help a business rather than to hurt a business. We're trying to help businesses.
But I thought I heard the clerk say that she cannot, anyone else cannot take that food truck and go set up over on Walter Berry.
No, I didn't mean to say that. My thought on it is if Ms. Kaysen has her own owned food truck at her site, I think it's perfectly logical for those sales to be counted just like her kitchen sales. And if Ms. Kaysen wants to take her food truck off-site to a First Friday event or some other event, I don't think the sales that take place away from her place of business can be counted towards her food-drink ratio, only the ones that take place on-site.
That was the intent of the ACC, exactly what.
And I think the other issue was she has control of her own food truck, where, you know, if it's somebody that she has planned to come in, it's a no-show. Well, now all of a sudden, there she is trying to figure out how to meet her ratios when they didn't show, so.
That's happened a few times, right?
But irregardless of that, that's on the business owner to meet that. And what we're doing is we're forcing them to take a position that they otherwise might not have to take to continue doing business. So now we're forcing her to build a kitchen, or we're forcing her to build a food truck with a kitchen when she can, I believe somebody said subcontract, and that's probably the correct term. That happens all the time in business, subcontracting one thing or another. You know, there's nothing inherently intolerable about it or illegal about it or nefarious about it. It happens all the time. I just don't see the issue with it. You know, if it's truly the point of sale issue, then let's tackle the point of sale data. Let's not kill the whole thing. Let's throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Maybe come to a ACC meeting and just hear part of the discussion, being involved in that discussion.
I mean, we're kind of going full circle. It goes back, if you're going to have an alcohol license, sell liquor, you got to sell food, and you got to sell a certain amount of food. And we talked about small bars, and so we voted down the small bar, so you still got to have the food ratio. So we're kind of going around in circles here. And I think we're being flexible. She's gonna have a kitchen. And we're also saying that she can have a food truck. If she owns a food truck, then those sales can be counted toward her ratio if the sales occur on her site.
I just want to be clear. Telling me if I want to come in and apply, have a brick and mortar, and I want to come in and apply because I got the room on my property, I can buy me a food truck, and it can act as my kitchen. Is that what you're saying? Is that what the ACC saying?
Basically, yes.
That's fine.
So just
That's fine.
as a point of comparison, Cedartown, I had a great tour of Cedartown with their DDA director 3 weeks ago. They actually have a beauty salon that serves mixed drinks. Cedartown. Does incredibly well. The business is amazing, you know, I mean, and it draws lots of young people, it draws lots of old people, it draws lots of people, and that's in Cedartown. And you know, if Rome wants to be seen as business-friendly and friendly to young adults and professionals, then we better do some serious thinking about how we project ourselves in terms of alcohol, because right now, that is not the image that we're sending. And while I appreciate we have to maintain and protect certain elements and perceive to be family-friendly, and we do want to be family-friendly, we may be taking it way too far. We are behind the 8 ball, and we are losing. And if you don't think that alcohol and mixed drinks used in a responsible manner adds additional chef-driven type restaurants and brings certain people downtown and brings and promotes certain businesses that are good for the community, then that is, in my opinion, a wrong way to think of where we need to be 10 years from now. And this is a bad decision.
Would you go to the podium and give us your name, please?
Caress Kaysen, owner of the Foundry on Fifth. The worry for me down the road, I mean, building out a kitchen, like he said, has taken a lot. I'm another business owner. I own a salon downtown. I've been in business for 10 years. Owning a business isn't for the faint of heart. I do think that a lot of, you know, finances that I could have used to, you know, help my business model in a way and help to grow, you know, grow it in that way, is having to take a big risk with building out a kitchen, with hiring staff, with, you know, having to order food that I don't know what's going to sell, that may go bad, but I still have to keep ordering it. I still have to keep employing people. So, you know, having this ratio does put more on me to have to carry and make sure that not only can I survive what I've, you know, survived right now, but, you know, what do I look like in 3 years if my kitchen doesn't take off, but I keep funding it, you know? Long term, with people who don't have business partners, who are just your average person like me, who are, you know, self-made, what does that look like for the person who has $30,000 and they could build something out, or they could make it, you know, just enough to open the doors, not to provide something that could be great, you know, giving them the opportunity. I do worry, you know, what that looks like for other professionals coming in who have a dream, you know, who maybe want to work with the community and provide food and to, you know, to make a difference, but who don't have the finances to lose. And then, you know, here you are investing money in something where, you know, 3 years later, I'm drowning, I can't afford to do anything, and I'm losing. So I think that is a big concern with the ratio long term. It doesn't have to be changed today, but I do think that we could be shutting out people who do have dreams.
So you would prefer basically, if we had passed the small bar ordinance, would that have fit your model?
I think what would fit is that I do want to provide food, but I don't want to have to, it is scary to have to provide that amount of food in a kitchen that is so small on my premises. And that my business model can't be everybody's business model because they don't have a parking lot to park in. You can't park a food truck in 2 spaces downtown on Broad Street. You have to have a specific area, and just so happens that the Foundry is. And, you know, I did a lot of research before we started, and I knew what was coming behind, and I knew that there could be opportunity, but not everybody has that opportunity. There's only so many spaces downtown, so.
Just to be clear, a small bar ordinance would not help her. Her outside
Because of
seating,
square footage.
her outside seating
Yeah.
counts as square footage.
Yeah.
So, but a difference in ratio.
I think a difference in ratio would take the pressure off of me for sure. I am constantly concerned and that we're not going to hit it when we do open the kitchen. That's why I try to solutionize, you know, what I can to expect where I need to make turns.
And if she subcontracts out the food truck, she mitigates her risk substantially.
Yeah,
But
it does.
Can't get the food trucks to show up like she said.
That's a business problem.
She needs
Yeah.
to shut down.
Most of the time most of the time they show up, but I will say that, like, it's hard wrangling them in. That's why we really went to just trying to partner with one and like, hey, Wednesday through Saturday, this is where you are from 5 to, you know, until you
Yeah.
sell out of your 80 pizzas.
Well, and I appreciate you showing up. We've kind of turned this into an alcohol
I'm
control
sorry.
commission meeting. We have a motion and a second on the floor, and I appreciate showing up. I feel your pain. We don't have the solution here.
Yeah.
If we change the ratio, then we've got John Henry's and Harvest Moon and a half a dozen, probably 3 dozen restaurants that meet the ratio. And if we change it, then we haven't been fair to those other restaurants. So it's, I think it's a situation where we've got to develop a model that the Rome City Commission can be comfortable with, knowing that we're not going to make everybody happy.
Is it an opportunity, Mr. Mayor, for amendment to the motion that's on the floor? Is the opportunity to place amendment to this motion before we vote?
Yeah.
I would like to offer amendment. I would like to offer amendment to send this here food truck back to the ACC for the reason being, it's just like what you just said, we have turned it into an ACC meeting, but I think it needs a whole lot more discussion for the simple fact being, Commissioner, you just heard the clerk say, yes, that the food trucks could act as a kitchen. And that tells me that if you got a commercial piece of land out there, which allows for alcohol to be sold with a kitchen, it's not enough buffers in place at this point in time to approve such a motion. So I would say, I would offer amendment to send it back to the ACC, that the whole thing come back after opportunities like what you just invited for Steve and the rest of them to come and put their input in. And like to find their honor. There's lots we don't know. I know that's a long motion, but that's my motion.
All right, so let me ask the city attorney, we have an amendment to this motion, that our motion be sent back to the ACC to basically to revisit the idea of the food truck discussion, basically. I mean, it's going to kill this motion, that the discussion of food trucks be sent back to the ACC.
It's my opinion that's not a proper amendment motion because it conflicts with the motion that's on the floor.
Okay, so the motion that we have on the table, in my mind, we vote that amendment up or down, and then another motion could be made.
Let's say withdraw that motion.
You can withdraw the motion.
He said that's
Not
not a
you.
proper
The
motion.
motion.
you
Hold
need
on a
to
minute.
weigh it.
Oh, wait, hold on, let me talk to the attorney. So if that's not a proper motion, so we have a motion on the table and a second. So we can vote that motion up or down, and then another motion could be made. Is that correct?
Joe, the motion on the table is to approve the ordinance, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. To the elimination of mobile food truck sales, we have a motion and a second for that.
But that motion can be withdrawn.
General motion can be withdrawn, yes. It can also be a motion to
Or
table.
it can be voted on.
Yes.
Since there's so much dissension here and not enough clarity, I think I want to withdraw that motion.
I want to second it.
Okay, so we have a motion to withdraw and a second. So we need to vote on that motion to withdraw it?
No, it's
Okay, so it's withdrawn. Okay. So if someone wants to make another motion to send this back to the Alcohol Control Commission, Commissioner Collins?
I would make that motion to send it back to the Alcohol Control Commission.
second.
All right, so we have motion and second to send this topic of the mobile food truck sales back to the Alcohol Control Commission. Any discussion? Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Bojo,
Yes.
Brock,
Yes.
Cochran,
Yes.
Beeman,
Yes.
Dawes,
Yes.
Quick,
Yes.
Collins,
Yes?
Robinson.
Okay, we have nothing continued on first reading. We have no public hearings. Mr. Clerk?
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Our city manager, Sammy Rich, is out of town doing city business. Meredith Ulmer, our assistant manager, is with us, and she has an item. So Meredith?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Under my time, I have the Atrium Floyd Health MOU. This MOU was discussed in caucus, and unless there are any questions, I recommend it for approval.
They need a motion to approve that.
So move.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I will have to recuse myself from this motion.
Mr. Mayor, I will have to excuse myself from this motion as well.
Okay, have a motion and a second with two recusals. Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Bojo,
Yes.
Brock,
Yes.
Beeman,
Yes.
Dawes,
Yes.
Quick,
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Mr. Attorney?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first item is the City of Milton appeal support resolution that is on the agenda and was discussed in caucus, which would express support for the City of Milton and its appeal in the case specifically cited in that resolution. The city attorney recommends the adoption of this resolution.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Bojo,
Yes.
Brock,
Yes.
Cochran,
Yes.
Beeman,
Yes.
Dawes,
Yes.
Quick,
Yes.
Collins,
Yes?
Robinson.
Yes.
Motion carries. Mr. Attorney?
Item, which was also discussed in caucus, it's on your agenda, the link. It's a amended and restated sublease by and between the Greater Rome Chamber of Commerce, Inc. and the Downtown Development Authority of the City of Rome, Georgia. As discussed in caucus, that was negotiated between the city and the chamber regarding the lease of the current chamber building and how that would go forward. The city attorney recommends the approval of that.
Need a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Bojo,
Yes.
Brock,
Yes.
Cochran,
Yes.
Beeman,
Yes.
Doss,
Yes.
Quick,
Yes.
Collins,
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Under my time, the Rome Floyd Development Authority will meet on Tuesday, November the 19th at 9 a.m. at the Maintenance Building at 800 Broad Street. Commissioner Bojo.
One announcement, the Finance Committee will meet, our meeting has been rescheduled for Monday, November 25th, 3 o'clock in the Sam King Room, and that concludes my report.
Commissioner Brock.
Public Safety Committee will meet Tuesday, November 19th, 2 o'clock in the Sam King Room. That's all for me.
Commissioner Cochran.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Historic Preservation Committee will meet Wednesday, November the 20th at 2:30 in these commission chambers. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Beeman.
The library board will meet on Thursday, November the 21st at 4 o'clock p.m. at the Rome Floyd County Library. That concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Doss.
Thank you, Mayor. The Landmarking Committee met on Tuesday, October 29th, and we approved and recommend 2 new landmarks to the city of Rome. The first one is the 110-year anniversary of Lovejoy Baptist Church. And the applicant, Esther Vaughn and Pastor Kerry Ingram, and we're going to celebrate that anniversary. And the second is the Rebecca Blaylock Nursery and the Graham Street Elementary School, and that also has a tremendous history. And those are our 2 landmarks coming before you. Next, Public Works Transit Trails will meet Wednesday, November 13th, and that is tomorrow at 10 a.m. in the Sam King Room. And that is my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Quick.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Collins.
No report, Mr. Mayor. Well, we do have the Rome Parks and Recreation will meet Tuesday, November 19th at 12 p.m. at the Shannon Center. That's my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Robinson.
Yeah, one I'm sure nobody will attend, but the Alcohol Control Commission will meet Monday, November the 18th at 5 o'clock, right here in the Commission chambers. And the Downtown Development Authority will meet Thursday, November the 14th at 8:30 in the Carnegie Training Room. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
I appreciate everybody's input and patience and tolerance, and there being no other business, we're adjourned. Thank you.